Hey folks, it's Lauren from Snowy's here, excited to taste test the Offgrid Potatoes and Saltbush.
Hit it.
It's shelf-stable food that comes in an easy heat pouch, loads of flavours available, and it's fresh, not dehydrated. Hold up fam, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any awesome content on the Snowy's channel. Let's get into it. So the food pouch weighs about 300 grams of net food, with the package being about an extra 20 grams. It measures 22 centimeters tall by about 14 centimeters wide. And the thickness here really depends on the food that's inside, how squishable it is and whether you can spread it out the whole length, but maybe, you know, a couple of centimeters, 2 or 3 centimeters or so. It's made of a really sturdy, like heat or food safe heat resistant package here, because you do heat it in the bag. It's got a couple of tear points. You've got one up the top here and one further down. Which one you tear off would either depend on the meal and how full the bag actually is, whether or not you've got a long spoon or a short spoon or a utensil. The other thing to point out is that because it is wet food or fresh food that's sealed in a packet and isn't dehydrated, you don't have that sort of Ziploc thing at the bag. So once it is opened and ready to eat, you do need to eat the whole meal or have something on hand that will allow you to store the food in your bag without it spilling. We do also have on the back of the packet here a rough description of what the meal is and an ingredients list. You've also got your nutritional information up here, some best before information down the bottom, and some information about how to prepare your meal. So your best before information, roughly around about these meals will be 12 to 15 months expiry date from the date of manufacture. So they are pretty generally shelf stable. So some of the pouches in the range have a bit more food in them than the main meal. So for example, the rice is a good indicator of this, and it's filled all the way to the top of the pouch. If you're using a flash, you can sort of force it in, but the top of the pouch will be above the water. So it's up to you in the field whether or not you just make it work. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just gonna use a larger Sigma pot just so we can fill it up with a bit more water and get that pouch fully submerged. So the food level on the potatoes is about halfway down the bag, so you don't need to fully submerge it like you do with some of the other staples of Offgrid, like lentils and rice. But because they are potatoes, I'm assuming they're gonna be sort of cut in chunks or squares or cubes, sort of like that. And I don't really want to squish them in case it makes them go a bit mashed. So I'm going to pop them in the saucepan here and just lay them down on a bit of an angle to see if we can help them keep their shape. All right, I wonder if that's going to pop back out at me, but I'll get the lid on there and keep that in place while it's boiling, and we'll set our 5-minute timer. Alrighty, so I'm going to turn that stove off and remove the lid. Now I'm pretty excited to actually give these a try because I don't know about you, but I absolutely love my potatoes. Now these are cooked in Saltbush with peppercorns and olive oil. So they sound pretty delicious. I'm going to I might rip down a bit lower so we can get a good look in here at the potatoes, because the food line is just below this. So obviously we've got nice, thick, chunky cut potatoes. None of them seem to have softened or mushed at all in the packet, even with that additional heating. They've still got skins on. So obviously being super chunky potatoes, I can't quite scoop and scrape down to the bottom, but maybe I'll see if with the camera there, just down the bottom, you can see all the flavor and the juices and the oil there at the bottom of the packet. So I have a feeling these potatoes are gonna pack quite a taste. So let's scoop out a piece now. That's some good potato. You'd probably say, compared to the other sachets that we've done, and I'd say given how thick and chunky the potatoes are cut, you might want to have it in water for a bit longer than the specified time, just to make sure that they're really heated through. But having said that, again, similar to the other staples that Offgrid do, they're cooked really well, factoring in obviously the addition of heating time. They're not turning to mush, they're holding their shape really well. They do taste like you've just cooked them in a pot at home or from scratch really, and mixed around with some really great flavors. The balance of the saltbush and the pepper, and the garlic, it's really nice. They're not overpoweringly salty. They're not too peppery. They're pretty good, pretty perfect, I'd say. An excellent addition to, even if you just want to chuck some peas and broccoli in some hot water and you don't want to worry about the time it would take to cook or boil potato, or having to deal with that starchy water mess. Or even just to go with a steak, for example. They're definitely a really good option to have to save time. So you can get these very delicious saltbush potatoes and a range of other off-grid food products at snowies.com.au.